Elections. My name's Kim Fuller.
Erica Hedlund, Secretary.
Vera Mostow, Vice President.
Bruce Marley, Treasurer.
Bob Israel, Member at Large.
Rich Smetana, General Manager.
We got approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of 11/19?
So moved.
Second.
Any changes, corrections, erasers? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to approve minutes of 12:10.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, executive session. Anything in executive session I can talk about? Is there anything in executive session I can talk about?
No.
I don't think so.
I can do this. Yeah, Kim went home sick, so we excused him for most of the morning. So what we did at the executive session was we dealt with various collection and personnel issues and contracts, many of which will be voted on in the general session, and you'll hear about them today. Nothing exciting happened, unfortunately.
Okay.
Or fortunately.
Okay. Employee of the month. Good part of this whole meeting. Let's see. Connie King, come on up to the front here and tell us about the employee of the month, if you wouldn't mind.
Hello to the board and members. The employee of the month is Alexandra Duran. And the reason why that we are recognizing Alexandra today is because a couple of weeks ago, a gentleman came by the front desk to report that there was a purse that was left on a seat in the card area in front where the lobby is. Alexandra, she was very proactive, and she went over and found and located the item that was left. In there, she also brought that information to me and she tried to identify the individual's purse by looking inside and seeing whether or not if there was ID or driver's license or some sort of way that we can identify them. However, there was none. There was only cash that was in there. And what we did, she immediately reported it to me. We contacted security immediately, and it was turned over to Mark Galvin, the security director, and the homeowner came up to us a day or so later and wanted us to make sure that we acknowledged Alexandra for her swift and prompt response in handling all the cash that's accounted for and so on and so forth. And she was very appreciative, and so were we, that we have an employee, as we did a couple of months ago also, who found money and turned it in. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, are we going to bring her up?
Yeah.
Okay. Bring her on up here.
Thank you.
Well, you need to give a 10-minute speech. No? No? Thank you very much. Congratulations.
I lost some money playing golf. Could you find that for me?
Okay. Is this, Rich, is this a first slide or second slide?
This is the first slide. You want the second?
No, that's good.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. We're going to briefly talk about CC&Rs and answer a couple questions. The CC&R vote, the bylaw ballot, we can no longer extend the date past January 11th. January 11th will be the date that we have the election people here. We'll open those ballots to determine whether or not anything passes or doesn't pass. Now, the reason we talk about how many ballots we need is this. To change a CC&R takes 51% of the 3,450 homes. Now, that's different than a quorum. So when we have the board election, for instance, we need a quorum of 15%. And then out of that quorum, whoever votes, that's what we tally. Doesn't work like that here. We have to, if you will change a bylaw, You have to get 1,760 people to vote the affirmative for that change. Now, there are some people who will vote positive and some people who vote negative. Everybody's got a right to vote. So to get to where we feel you have a good idea about what everybody thinks, we think we got to get to 2,200, 2,500 ballots so that out of that group, we then know what everybody wants. That's the reason for the push. If you only get 1,800 ballots and you need 1,700 ballots to pass, imagine you got 1,800 ballots and 1,500 people say yes, 300 say no, it's still defeated. See what we're going here? We don't want to do it again. I will tell you personally, I will not vote to do this again. Because whether we don't get enough ballots or whether it's defeated, to me it's the same outcome. This is too expensive. What's the next slide say? There's the costs so far. Now what happened is, you got the election company at 11, flash drives to mail, cost of flash drives, and the reason we did that was that cut our mailing cost in about half. Everybody understand? We have to mail you all of the changes, which would have meant a document this big. By mailing out a flash drive, it saved us a lot of money. It costed the attorney to go through this for 2 years. So what happened is, at a point that we said we're not getting enough ballots, we have now sent out new ballots to people who have not voted. That cost is $8,000 plus, along with the letters. And now we're hiring an election company to do this at $30 an hour in order to try to remind people, vote. I don't care how you vote, just vote. If you want my personal opinion, call me up. Call any board member here, they'll give you a personal opinion. As board members, we just want to vote. So, this will be in excess of 60,000. And it'd be nice to put it to rest based upon a vote of a lot of people. It'd be horrible to put it to rest to simply say, we didn't get people to vote. So go back to the other slide. So the board decided we're going to now, at the very last minute, we're going to motivate people to vote. Namely, we're going to give away some money as a prize. If you voted, your little name goes into the barrel, and on that day, we're pulling 10 people for $100 cash prizes, 10, 100, and 2 people at $500 each. And the thought is simply, maybe that'll motivate you to vote, even if however you vote. And the reason was, that's $2,000, which to me, in realm of spending $60, it's okay. I understand. I've had some communication from people who felt, is this an appropriate use of HOA money? Judgment call. My answer was, yes, I do. If you think it's not a good idea, run for board, and then you decide. That's what we do up here. So that's the reason we did it. We want to get past 2,200 ballots so that we know what everybody thinks. And then we can put it to rest once and for all. January 11th, deadline. If you get a phone call, it's because you haven't voted yet. Please vote. If you don't have a ballot, contact us. We'll get you another one. Open forum. Mr. Bakshi, come on up and talk to us as chairman of the nominating committee.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the nominating committee, I want to announce the 2 candidates who will be running for the 2 open seats on the board in 2019. The first is Linda Austin. Stand up, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
And the other candidate is a gentleman, Kim Fuller. Is Kim Fuller here?
Well,
Stand up.
physically. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
I will tell you, the minute I heard Linda Austin was running for the board, not only did that motivate me, I immediately put out an email to a whole bunch of people and said, not only am I going to support this candidate, if there was other candidates, I was going to campaign for her. We are very lucky. So that's what it's all about. We got to get very good people to run. This is a great lady. By the way, I thank you very much for doing this. Spends a lot of time. Thank you, Linda. All right. The reason we have to have Dave do that, Dave is chair of the nominating committee. The bylaws require the nominating committee to make that announcement. I can't do that. And so now the HOA can send out e-blasts, and we can now say, by the way, there is an election. Now, this is an interesting one. There's 2 open seats and only 2 people running. We can't, by law, have an acclamation. We have to still have the election. The election is quorum, 15% of the 3,450. When you get your ballots, you need to vote. If we don't get a quorum, there's no election. The existing board must continue till we do the election again. The election costs us $10,000. So tell everybody, no matter what, you have to vote. Okay. Dennis, did you only want to talk for 1 minute? Okay, come on up here. Now, are you talking? Okay, Dennis, let me ask you a question. Are you talking on courts 5 and 6? I am. Have a seat. Do me a favor. Have a nice seat. You'll be up in a little while. That's an agenda item. We're voting on that today. Okay? And then Bruce, raise your hand. Bruce, did you want 1 minute or 3 minutes? 3 minutes. I'll see you at the end of the meeting. Don't go away. Okay, financial, Mr. Marley, the floor is yours.
If I may, in the $2,000 we're talking about, and the phone calls in particular, you may get a phone call even if you voted. That would indicate that ideally your ballot is in the mail. It just hasn't been accounted for. We don't know who's voted. Your community, the HOA board, does not know who has voted. So that's why there's going to be calls made to some people that voted. So if that's the case, thank them for the call that you voted. That's just fine. The second piece is, for everybody but board members, unfortunately, are going to have our names thrown in the same pot for the drawings of those 12 checks, if you will. So the board members who voted don't qualify. But anyway, just those 2 things. You may get a call. If you voted, just tell them thank you very much.
Now let me say one more thing. You just reminded me. If you do get a call or a letter, it could be your ballot was invalidated. So if you get a call, you need to check that out. If you get a letter, check that out. Namely, a simple thing, you sent it in and didn't sign the outside of that envelope, it's invalid. Tossed. So if you do get a call, check to find out. I thought I voted, do you have my ballot? And if they say it's invalid, then do another one. They'll throw that one out.
Since we're on the same subject, some members of the community have mentioned to me they did not get the security envelope in the ballot mailing that they received. If that's the case, pop over to the HOA office and you'll be directed to get hold of HOA elections to make sure you get the proper mailing to include that security envelope. I know of 2 cases, hopefully it's not been rampant, but as you're learning and getting a feel for it, this is pretty critical. We are spending a good deal of money to try to make some positive changes. So if you have not voted, vote. And if you get friends or neighbors who ask you about it, please encourage them to vote too. Thank you.
Can I just add something?
I guess we're going to keep talking about this.
We're not spending all this money on HOA elections because that's the way, just for fun. We're required by Davis-Sterling law to do it that way. And although the legislature, the California legislature, tried to make some changes as to how this could be done, for instance, if you only have 2 people running for 2 seats, you can avoid an election. That did not pass, or at least it was not approved by the governor. So we're following the Davis-Sterling law, and that's the law that we all have to follow. And we'd rather not spend this money, but we've got to do it.
I just wanted to add one little thing, is that the board members are excluded from winning that $500. So it's all up to you people.
Speak for yourself.
We're going to, she's confirming my comment, which is good because sometimes I get it wrong. Mr. President, would you invite Tyler Engel to come up and present the Controller's report?
Mr. Engel, can you please come to the podium?
Good afternoon, Board.
Today I'll take a few minutes and we're going to review the October 2018 unaudited results. Normally we would do in November this month, but because of the time frame of the meeting, we're actually reporting on October. So we're going to go over the unaudited results. We'll look at the balance sheet, some balance sheet fluctuations. Look at an analysis of our financial position. I'll give you an update on some of the things I've been working on, and then take some questions from the board if you have any. In the operating fund, not including golf and food and beverage, revenues were $7.8 million, expenses were $6 million. The charter club activities, the net of that income and expense was about $52,000. The excess of revenues over expenses was $1.74 million, and this represents a positive variance of about $359,000 as compared to the budget. This excess of $359,000 is due in part to some favorable variances in revenue. We had CC&R violations revenue above budget of $11,000, fitness class income of about $33,000, collection of bad debt of about $10,000, and miscellaneous income of $80,000. And that miscellaneous income includes a gain on the sale of some used fitness equipment, and also a settlement with Associa and DRM, which is reflected in miscellaneous income and also a reduction of legal fees. Some of the other reasons for our variance, positive variance, G&A expenses were about $178,000 less than budget. Repair and maintenance was about $95,000 less than budget. Our recreation and lifestyle department is about $9,000 more than budget. And our capital expense, $34,000 less than budget, and our common area improvement expense was about $14,000 less than budget. In a little further detail, in G&A, our personnel expenses, including some temporary employees, are about $84,000 less than budget. Our bad debt is $45,000 more than budget. We also have a service agreement that is about $29,000 more than budget. It was unbudgeted, and we'll have an unfavorable variance about $35,000 for the entire year. And we also have an unused contingency of $94,000. In repair and maintenance, we're about $100,000 less than budget in our general category, and most of that is delayed. We'll still see that expense this year. Our personnel expenses are about $54,000 more than budget, and our street repair and maintenance is $10,000 less than budget. In fitness, our personnel expenses are about $44,000 more than budget, but this is offset partially by our fitness contractor fees, which is $30,000 less than budget. All those people are now employees versus being a contractor. In the lifestyle department, our personnel expenses are about $25,000 more than budget, and our View magazine expenses are about $12,000 less than budget. And this is also offset by revenue is a little bit less than anticipated. And now I'll quickly talk about golf and food and beverage. Again, this is October, and Roland's already presented a little more detail on this. But as a reminder, revenues were about $2.05 million, or $71,000 more than budget. The expenses, not including depreciation, were $3 million, about $163,000 less than budget. And this excess of expense over revenues was $936,000, or $233,000 better than budget. In food and beverage, revenues were $953,000, which was about $67,000 more than budget. Expenses were $1.2 million, about $101,000 more than budget. And the net cost of this amenity was $272,000, or about $34,000 more than the budget. Now in our replacement fund, revenues were $1.84 million. Expenses year-to-date through October were $718,000. We also had an interfund transfer of $248,000 to the operating fund. This was for the purchase of replacement personal property. Expenses for major repairs and replacements were about $835,000 less than planned. Part of this is timing, and also some items were delayed until 2019. On the balance sheet, our total assets are up $1.5 million to $16.3 million. Our total liabilities are $1.9 million. This is up $15,000. Our total fund balance is $14.4 million. This is up $1.5 million since the beginning of the year. Our total cash is also up $102,000 to $3.2 million. Our replacement fund investments, including CDs, are $11.9 million, and this is an increase of $1.58 million. Our accrued costs and expenses are down about $361,000 to $457,000, and our accrued personnel expenses are up about $377,000 to $711,000. And those items will be paid. Were paid in November, most of them. Assessments received in advance is up about $31,000 to $325,000, and our deferred revenue is down about $52,000 to $270,000. Our operating fund balance is $1.5 million, and this is up about $577,000 since the beginning of the year. Replacement fund balance is also up about $879,000 at $12.1 million, and our net working capital is up $566,000 to $1.44 million since the beginning of the year. And then just so you're aware, obviously we completed the October 2018 unaudited financials, also completed updated forecast with 10 months of actual, assisted with the completion of the 2019 budget mailer, and then the 2018 November unaudited results are in process now, and I expect to have those to the Finance Advisory Committee by the end of the week. If there's any questions, I'll...
Quickly, if I may, our residents might want to know why bad debt expense is, quote, up $45,000 more than budget.
Sure. So prior to a couple of months ago, we weren't recording our bad debt on a monthly basis. We're now basing our bad debt accrual on any aging that's over 90 days, and that is always a month behind. So the number we're at right now is through September 30th.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
No more questions. Thanks. Mr. President, would you please invite Bill Wethy to come and talk about the FAC report?
Mr. Wethy, come on up.
Good afternoon. So we're going to cover what we've done, what we're working on, and what's upcoming in the next couple of months. So you can go to the next one. As Tyler has summarized, FAC did complete its review of all the October financial statements, including everyone that he's discussed, as well as the variance analysis. You can go on to the next page. And the financials prepared by Troon, and all of the combined financials included in the Treasurer's report, which will be posted once the board approves them. If you go to the next one, the condensed financial information was also approved and recommend board approve it for publishing in the View. And we naturally went through the report that Tyler just provided. He's added to that with some additional new information that we thought would be helpful and useful to the board and to the residents. And the forecast that he updated with 10 months of actual, we're tracking better than was reported last month. I think the operating fund surplus will be over $460,000 for the year versus $419,000, which was the number we utilized at the when the board approved the 2019 budget. You can go to the next one. Other completed work, as the board knows, there's a new law that is to be effective January 1st of 2019 for the amount of the fidelity insurance, or the fidelity bond as it's sometimes called. Based upon the new law that's effective, we have to increase that amount from $14 million to $15 million. And that will be in excess of what's required by the CC&Rs, but it'll be in compliance with the law. And Tyler followed up with the insurance agent that the association uses, and the incremental cost to raise it $1 million was $400, so estimated to be. So I understand the board approved that BAF earlier today. On also included in your bank package, Your board package was all the bank statements and reconciliations of the operating fund and replacement fund accounts, and FAC reviewed those and recommended approval of them. Go to the next one. Our standard monthly stuff, including article for The View. As I mentioned last month, Larry Helseth is resigning at the end of this month, or has resigned at the end of this month, and we wrote a nice article for the website on that. Our regular meeting in November, the minutes of that were included in your board meeting package. I think that was the 5.5-hour meeting in November, Bruce, and we got it done in 3 hours and 25 minutes on Friday of last week, to everyone's pleasure. So we can go to the next one. We also submitted BAF 2018 number 26 on the recommendation put forth by Tyler and Rich on the ultimate closing of the Home Depot account by the association. And I understand the board approved that written recommendation and FAC's recommendation to approve that, so thank you. Other completed work, we finished our reviews of the report by an auditor on Associa's shared service accounting control environment. The auditors issue a SOC 1 Type 1 report, and it had an unqualified opinion, and we didn't have any further comments on that report. It was very thorough and complete. Troon Golf, at our request and Roland's request, also prepared a written narrative on their shared service accounting control environment. FAC did its reviews of that, submitted a couple of sets of changes. Troon made all those changes, and that work is complete as well. So next up, to DRM and Richard's delight, is that we're now in the process of reviewing the DRM corporate office internal controls related to things that they do to make sure our association financial statements are reported correctly and appropriately. And then Rich and team has also developed a DRM on-site listing or write-up of controls and processes also related to accounting and financial reporting. And we're in the process of reviewing those materials. So that would complete the loop when we finish all that. Just in time for the annual audit. RFPs were sent out for a new landscape contractor and a new, or not necessarily new, but RFPs were sent out to obtain a landscape contractor and a new security protection company. We were involved in the writing of the RFP, comments on that, with the contracts that would be included in that, and we'll be looking at the responses as they come for both of those major vendors. Go to the next one as well. Upcoming work, Tyler's going to get us the November financial statements the end of this week, just in time for the holidays. And where did he go? So then we hope in the next month or so we'll have candidate or candidates for the open position on the Finance Advisory Committee. We definitely are looking for a detail-oriented person to help fill some of Larry Helseth's size 13 shoes. And so we hope to interview a couple of candidates in the next month or so. Tyler and team have been working and preparing for the 2018 audit. Most of the interim work has been complete. Then there was a couple other items that I thought about that I didn't include in the written report last month. But we're going to meet with the investment advisor, Comerica Securities, for the replacement fund on January 25th, face-to-face. In anticipation of that, Tyler's taken the replacement fund budget for 19 by month and summarized that. He's then prepared a forecast to adjust the timing and to add items that we're going to be were thought to have been spent in 2018, and they're going to move to 2019, i.e. a timing difference. And there's some items that are going to be accelerated into Q4 18 that were originally planned in 19. The numbers are about the same, but we're looking at all the changes. And that's been sent to Comerica so that they can prepare their investment recommendations that will come to the board next month for investing of funds going into the replacement fund and maturities of current investments that are going to be realized in 2019. Then we'll also next month do our annual review of the charter and mission for the FAC, the subcommittee, the investment policy, and the procurement policy. So you'll see our recommendations in your February meeting package after we meet and review that in January. Then we say goodbye to Larry Helseth, but the other 6 members, including myself, a lot of them have volunteered to pick up some of the work that I was doing, which is a big help. And we're looking for 1 new member, at least 1. We can have 3. So if you learn of anybody that might be interested, please refer them to us. And with that, take any questions if you have any.
One quick question. I could have asked Tyler, but he ducked out. Even though he's back, I'll still ask you. You mentioned, Tyler mentioned that our working capital position today is about $1.44 million.
Correct.
And there's a statistic, if you could share with the board, as to what a good range would be as to how much we should have in working capital.
Yes. So the industry standard is to have net working capital, i.e. operating fund current assets in excess of operating fund current liabilities, of between 1 to 3 months of your assessment income. Our assessment income is about $1 million, so we'd have somewhere between $1 to $3 million of net working capital. At 1.44, we're at about 1.4, so definitely within the industry standard, but on the lower side of it. Good news is we collect dues monthly, and our realization rate is exceedingly high. We don't get 100%, but we get very close to it.
Thank you very much.
All right, I have a question. You mentioned you're looking for candidates. Do they need to be accountants or CPAs?
Yeah, so that's a good one. You know what, we talked about that at our FAC meeting on Friday, and really they don't need to be an accountant. They don't need to be a CPA. They don't need to be a controller. They don't need to be a CFO. What the reserve study and the replacement fund, it'd be helpful to have someone who's very detail-oriented, pays attention to detail, ticks and ties numbers. Budgeting experience is good, but it's more about attention to detail and digging into the nuts and bolts.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President, would you invite Roland up here to talk a little bit about food and beverage and golf? You can hold your applause for Bill. I'll give him a
Mr.
chance
Rowland,
in a
come
minute.
on down.
Good afternoon, Board. I had my October financials last month, so once again, like Tyler said, we're splitting it up here so you don't get so bored with so many numbers, but I'll have my November and should have the year-to-date numbers for the next board meeting. But I just want to come up and briefly touch on a couple of topics, kind of where we're at, forecasting to finish the year, December, month to date, and talk about some things going on. So just a verbal report this time. So November ended up a little bit behind budget. Well, we exceeded revenues on to budget and prior year. Did spend a little bit more money due to some timing on invoices, and so we gave a little bit money back to the bottom line, but we're still well ahead of budget and prior year numbers bottom line, and that is moving into December. Right now we are a little bit ahead in the golf department, which is typical in December because you're busier at the beginning of the month and you get the holidays and golf slows down a little bit. Food and beverage is doing great. We have more, we've far exceeded our banquet business already for the month. So very positive, lots of big events, successful events, hosting more holiday parties and things like that out of Shadow. So very positive story there as well. So should be another positive month, finish to the year, and things are looking good to finish well ahead of budget, bottom line, for 2018. Another positive thing we have coming up is our Agave Amateur, which practice rounds start tomorrow. There's been quite a few hanging around already. I've seen them on the practice tee and in the restaurant, so already getting a little bit of incremental revenue from the event. We did put together a couple of numbers. We had some questions about the financial impact of the Agave, and non-financial, just the amount of attention that the facility community gets by hosting the event. These are players from all over the country, top amateurs in the United States. It's a World Amateur Golf ranked event, so you get points toward your World Amateur Golf ranking. And so just specifically going back a few years to 2015, we did not hope. First 2 years, we didn't have the event at all. And we did about $14,000 in golf fee revenue. In 2015, there was $11,500 in revenue in 2016. And then our first year hosting the Agave event, we brought in $16,453 in golf fees. This year, we are forecast to bring in $20,000 in green fees during the same time period. So along with that, there's about another $5,000 in food and beverage revenue and merchandise revenue that is generated in a typically slow time of year right before the holidays. So, very positive event for the community, bringing some financial gain to us all here to help close out the year strong. And we welcome and invite all of our residents out. If you have your own golf car, you're more than welcome to bring that out and watch some of the golf. Those that have seen some of the guys warming up already, I saw a couple of guys from the middle of the north tee landing it on the south tee already. So these guys hit the long ball for sure. So it's kind of fun to watch, and we invite you to come on out. You can watch the golf tournament. Just stay along the sides of the golf course. Don't interfere with their golf or be having too much fun out there. But we welcome everybody to come out and be part of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
We have some actions that we need to address regarding the financials. We'll start with, you've all had a chance in the board packet to look at the October 2018 Treasury Report. I would seek your approval subject to audit.
Is there a second?
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I just kind of confuse you by seeking your approval versus making a motion. Second one is I make a motion to accept the 2018 HOA financials as you find in your board packet.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And Roland mentioned that he did present the October 18 golf food and beverage financials last month, so I would seek your approval to accept those subject to audit.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I ask that you accept the controller's report. That is not subject to audit, but I make a motion to accept the controller's report.
Second?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Further, I would seek your approval. I would make a motion to accept the FAC report as given to us.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
And lastly, not quite, but almost, in your board binder, you'll find the bank reconciliations for October 18. I would make a motion to accept those as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good news is no bad debt, no write-offs, but we do have 7 potential liens that I need to ask you to consider. They are by number 1735776.
137.
I stand corrected. I'm dyslexic. It's difficult to be a finance guy being dyslexic, so I'll try it again. 1375776, 1356834, 1359844, 1378090, 1357574, 1921861, 136-5984.
4-8.
Did it again. That's, no, it says 84 right here. I think I got that one right. Did I get that one right?
This is the board action form says 590.
Is there a motion?
Oh, you know what? There's a discrepancy here between the BAF and the agenda 48, so I will correct myself. The final item is 136-5948.
So
And
mo-
these would be issued against these properties should the assessments not be paid within the time period established in the intent to lien letter. I make a motion to accept these 7.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, and I think that's the finance report. But just quickly in closing, we're in good shape financially, as you've heard today, and it's nice to kind of finish up the year with a modest excess of revenue to expenses and with the good reporting that we're doing. So I think that what you're seeing is totally transparent. It's giving you the facts, and if you want to be really dig down, it's all on the website under the resident-only section. You'll get to see all this information in a high level of detail, and I would appreciate and entertain any phone calls or emails if you have questions. Thank you.
Okay, righty. Okay, forum. Bruce, looking at your thing, you'll be talking about an agenda item, tennis courts, so come on up. This is your time.
Great. First, ladies and gentlemen of the board, first I'd like to thank you for your past support for the tennis and pickleball clubs and facilities and improvements in the past. Unfortunately, about a week to 10 days ago on court number 5, one of the old courts, we had a member stumble and fall, separating his shoulder and breaking his arm. Now, I think we all understand that there are risks in these sports, but the real question was the condition of the court a contributing factor? Personally, I don't even like to ask or be asked this question. I have an email here dated March 6, 2017, approximately 22 months ago, from Ozzie Lopez, actually from George Paul, our past president, to Ozzie Lopez, stating, "Can you please give me an update and a timeline on what is being planned for the repair or replacement of the playing surfaces for the pickleball courts 5 and 6? The second email I have here is dated September 18th, 2017, approximately 7.5 months later, stating from Kerry Levitt to Manny Rosa, our past president, "The topic has been tabled a couple of months in order to obtain additional quotes. I anticipated an affirmative vote on Monday." Today, we are approximately 22 months since that first email. Probably 2 years, really, since we knew of this problem with these courts. Now, looking at the numbers, the Pickleball Club has approximately 330 members at this point, 83 new members, many of who are beginners. With the tennis club combined, we're now somewhere in the 500 to 600 resident range, which is approximately 10% of our total population. The men's and ladies golf club have, 300 plus members. Yet if we look at the budget for tennis and pickleball facilities versus golf, we represent a very small fraction of the total cost. Because of the size of the pickleball club and the busy mornings, many of the members have formed groups that play in the evenings under the lights, which is great. However, on 2 occasions, I was personally involved in playing when the lights suddenly went out, and it was pitch black because your eyes are used to the bright lights. And I recently discovered the warning buzzer was disconnected on purpose because some neighbors voiced concerns about the noise. Now, to the best of my knowledge, no member has been hurt as a result of the sudden blindness yet. Over the last 2 years, the Pickleball Club has worked hard to enhance public safety, adding lessons for new members, new signage with safety guidelines at the courts and on the website, and waivers. When we bought here, we signed a waiver. When we joined the golf club, we signed a waiver. When we joined the pickleball club, we signed a waiver. We're waiving waivers all over the place. Now, I know I'm not a lawyer, but in Canada, if we have a community that has not taken reasonable action in a reasonable amount of time, all these waivers become meaningless. In summary, you've seen the pictures of the courts. It looks like our roads in Canada after a hard winter of frost heaves. And you have seen some of the emails from our members. So the question is really not if we should be fixing the courts, but when. And I guess I want to be clear about our member expectations here. We're not expecting action next week. In fact, we're expecting action today, tomorrow, and from this point on until the courts are fixed. So again, I'd like to thank you for your time. And are there any questions?
Any questions for us? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and the only other one I have is Dennis. I think you're here to talk about the courts also.
Good afternoon. Perhaps a little bit different from what you just heard. I started personally talking 15 months ago. Was the very first time we discussed or made a comment to the HOA board about the condition of Santa Rosa Courts 5 and 6, a community amenity. I know you all agree with that. And the good news today is that our understanding is a BAF has been submitted by the Facilities and Services Advisory Committee to the board for repair of the pickleball and tennis courts 5 and 6, and we see it as an agenda item as well. So we have plenty of reason to be cheerful. And yes, we say, please fix it, and please fix these courts as soon as possible. Why? Perhaps you can consider these 3 reasons. The courts are, as you've just heard from the previous speaker, Bruce, they are and can be dangerous to players of all ability levels, especially with more rain in the forecast. Rain seems to be a real precursor of issues on these courts. Number 2, if we wait until the end of April or the end of the so-called high season, I can almost hear the court experts saying, oh no, can't do the work now, it's too hot. We have to wait. And finally, reason 3, very simply, why should the pickleball and tennis players who are year-long residents need to be inconvenienced by work on the courts after the part-time residents have departed or left? As always, thank you for your consideration.
Okay.
Oh, and if you see me departing, it's not because of lack of HOA board interest, it's because I got a date over at Court 5 and 6 right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis.
Well, you
Be careful.
Don't stress.
okay? Oh, well, maybe the vote goes against you if you leave. Man, nothing like eat and run. Okay, courts. I understand, Bruce, your concern. First of all, let me say, I do not believe those courts are a safety issue at all. Those courts are put in all over the United States. I've seen the Pro Tour uses that court. There is a risk of playing tennis. And people fall down on clay courts, grass courts, hard courts, all kinds of courts. By code, it's not an unsafe code. It's not an unsafe court. So I disagree that it's unsafe at all. When somebody falls, people fall. I don't care what kind of court you're playing on. That doesn't take away from the fact I understand what you're telling us, which is you don't like that particular court. And I got that because I do know there's dead spots on it. I got that. I know all about that court. Second issue, the warning on the lights. I agree with you there. We're looking into a strobe system to install so that the strobe will go off so there's no noise, but will warn you when the lights are going to go off in 10 minutes so you can turn the timer on. We're looking into that. And we're looking into low voltage lighting so that when the lights do go off, there's lighting so people can see when they're walking out. So those 2 items we're looking at trying to install to resolve the issue which you talked about as far as warning when the lights go out. Totally get what you're saying when the lights go out. For those of you who do not know about the lights on the tennis courts, it is a metal halide. And when you turn those lights off, they have to cool off before they will fire back up. Takes about 10 minutes. So if you're playing tennis, you don't play unless you go to another court. But they could be full. I will disagree that there's been totally reasonable action on our part. We've been looking into this for a very long time. There are issues with taking it out, which we will discuss today. Namely, that cushion court does allow some people to play tennis who could not play tennis otherwise. That does concern me. There are people with back, ankle, knee problems who can play on a cushion court who can't play on a cement hard court. It's hard on their knees. The tennis garden is all on a cement hard court, but you know, they're 20 to 30-year-old people. And it doesn't bother them. So it's a little different story. So I understand your situation, and the board's going to decide that today, what to do about that. And then we'll talk about the risks. There are some risks in taking that court out. Okay, we're up to the consent agenda where we get to do a whole bunch of work in about a minute.
You ready for a motion?
Yes.
I move that that the board approve all items on the consent agenda.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Look at that. Turn the page. Okay. First thing we're dealing with here is purchase of cardio equipment in the Santa Rosa Fitness Center. Okay.
All right. I was actually at the first meeting when everybody discussed it, and much as we try to accommodate everybody, there are clearly some cost issues involved that had to be addressed. So I'm going to move that we approve the option 3 in the with certain changes in the 3 options presented by Valeria. I move that the changes should be as follows. We replace the stair climber with a 3rd recumbent bike, subject to confirming that there's sufficient space for that recumbent bike. Then, I also move that the rower be purchased from Technogym instead of Concept, that we install 2 ceiling fans, and that we use the Precor elliptical with arms and one without arms. Also, that we replace the elliptical Cybex with arms and in that option and replace it with the elliptical Vario with arms. Subject to all those changes, I move we accept their proposal.
I second that.
All right, discussion. Okay, so the Cybex, so part of this is the Vario machine will be installed other than the one Cybex.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to vote opposed on that.
All right.
I would rather see the Precor machine go rather than a Cybex machine go. Cybex is American-made. Precor is not. Cybex will outlast Precor by years if that was an issue on
All right.
repair and maintenance.
That was the recommendation we just got now from the fitness committee, that we do we'll release the Cybex. We replace the Cybex with the Technogym.
And what was the reason of the committee members for that choice?
Rick, you want to come up and explain to us why this is a better choice? Because I don't know.
I told Rick you wouldn't have to present today.
Well,
but
we lied.
That's twice I've lied to you, my friend.
We lied.
Sorry.
Thank you for letting me speak briefly. The Vario machine has many more capabilities than either the Cybex or the Precor as far as the motion that it makes. It can do short strides, long strides, and also similar to stair stepping up and down. And Rich had a chance to go on the machine, and several of our committee members did too. It's a superior machine, and for a little bit more money, it does a lot more. It has a lot more capabilities. So, you know, as far as whether it's Precor or Cybex, that's not as big a concern of mine. I don't know if Valeria has a big concern which one to replace. But we'd like to see we have 2 of them over here at Montecito right now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. My concern, I don't agree that a Vario machine is a good machine in this application. Putting that aside, what I'm saying is, if you're going to take out a machine in order to put in a Vario, take out one of the Precor machines. don't take out one of the Cybex machines. The Cybex machine is better built.
All right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I personally would not be in favor of the machine at all in this application. But if you're going to do it, if the board's wish is to have that very machine in that application, put in one of the Precors, one of the Varios, but leave in two of the Cybex.
And I'm sorry, how many Cybex? Was it
Well,
one
it'd be
Precor, one
two
Vario,
Cybexes.
and two Cybex?
One Precor and one Vario.
Which makes sense to me.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, I'm willing to amend my motion to reflect that we use one Precor, one Vario, and two Cybex.
And given that scenario, the Precor machine, I would recommend you use with arms.
All right.
And I second that amendment.
Okay? In the Cybex case, I'd put one in with arms, one without arms.
Okay. All right, so I'm amending my motion to reflect those changes.
I second.
Okay, more discussion on this one.
Not for me. Do you have any
Okay, calling
discussion?
for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm opposed. I love being outvoted 4-1. Isn't this fun?
Could you explain why you're opposed?
I'm opposed to the Vario machine. I don't think it's a good application in this
All right.
situation. That's all.
Okay.
So, but that's okay. That's why we have 5 people, because sometimes my thought is not very good. Okay, next item.
New business.
Okay, new business. All right, we're finally going to get the machinery in over there at the Santa Rosa. Okay, Mr. Israel, floor is yours with an orbital machine.
Yes, this is a BAF. I would move to accept the recommendation to purchase a machine that actually accomplishes something other than personal exercise. And this is a TAS machine, which is an all-surface cleaning, scrubbing, sanding, polishing, extraction, interim, and grinding machine. It has been recommended by the Facilities Committee, and I personally am in favor of giving our staff the best equipment to do the job to keep this place looking as good as it can. The total amount is $3,441.51, and I would move the acceptance of that proposal.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving along. Okay, submersible pump. Okay, what this is about, we have these fountains at the entrance to the 2 gates, one on Jefferson, one on, what street is that for phase 3? 40th.
Avenue 40.
I live in phase 3. I don't even know what street that is. I just get there. So each entrance has a fountain, and that fountain is run by equipment in a vault meaning an underground pit that holds electrical and pumps, okay? What happened here is there is a sump pump in there so that if water collects, it pumps the water out so it doesn't fill up, destroying everything else. Well, that's what happened. That cost us a couple $1,000s. So my suggestion was, which staff put forward, was we put in a second pump, backup pump. And so that when one fails, the other one kicks in, so we don't destroy $2,000 worth of equipment based upon the fact we only have one submersible pump. That's what this is about. Tyler, I do have a question for you, though, sir. Is this for 2 pumps installed? Maybe Jesse can answer. Jesse, come on down for me, would you please? I'm not sure I'm getting the math on this, just so we're sure. I got the submersible pump at 393. The check valve is 870. It should be more than 875 to do.
That's for the total
2.
price for both pumps.
What?
That's for 2 pumps.
It's for 2 pumps.
Correct.
Okay, here's what we need to add in. You have to have 2 check valves. You need check valve on each pump discharge line.
Correct. We currently have one check valve already on one line, and so we're going to add one more check valve.
Okay, so the total will be a little more than this.
No, because we already have one check valve already. There's one
Okay.
check valve already in the system.
Okay.
So we're adding one more extra and one more pump.
Quickly,
Okay.
Jesse, would it be good to have one in reserve, or are you using the reserve one as one of the two?
Both of them are going to be tied together, just that they're going to be in different levels.
But we don't need one in inventory for a potential future breakdown?
No, on the cost, while the cost for a new pump is $393.
Right.
Yeah, so we don't need one in stock for another for
Okay,
a-
my question actually, I'm sorry, is regarding this check valve.
Correct.
You got one in stock, you're going to order one. Do we need to have one in stock?
We have one that's installed already in the system.
Okay.
That's there in the system.
Thank you.
Well, someday, thank you. Okay, the check valves is, you could buy at Orchard Supply. I mean, it's Granger, it's simple, doesn't matter. It'll probably never go bad in our lifetime. Okay, there's the motion. Need more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, what? Okay, we're on to nominating committee for the refreshments and cookies for the candidate meet and greets.
All right, we've talked about this, and I believe, Dave, you're already looking at reducing some of this, because with only 2 candidates, we did not feel it was necessary to have 2 forums, 2 meet and greets, and expect 150 people at each event. So what I think we talked about at the board, and what I'm going to move, is that we cut the total in half to about, I think it's about $1,600 total to divide out however you choose, but that I believe you're already doing that we recommend that maybe we do 1 meet and greet and 1 forum, and however the nominating committee agrees to do that, but that the total catering budget is going to be cut to $1,600. So I so move.
So, wait a minute, what was your motion, how much?
I move that we cut it to $1,600 total. It's 31 something.
I would second that motion.
I thought we decided in our meeting for $350
Per-
each, 1 forum and 1
Right.
meet and greet,
Well, per
which would be
event.
$700 total.
No, but it's 4.
Yeah, we talked this morning, Eric, about 4 times 783, and that's what got us roughly to this number. So we're just cutting the total budget in
Cutting the
half
total budget in half.
from 3132 down to 1600 as a cap.
Yeah, I see that, but I thought we reduced it, but maybe
No,
not.
I've reduced it by half.
Okay, what's the motion?
I move that we reduce the total catering budget to the nominating committee from $3,132 to $1,600.
Is there a second to that?
I second that.
Okay, now, discussion on that item.
I think if you're having 1 forum and 1 meet and greet, at the most, you're going to have 150 people at each. Is that correct? Right?
There's going to be more people want to see Linda.
I don't see 150 people eating cookies worth $1,600 or drinking coffee.
Yeah, that's the Shadows cost.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't think that many people are going to show up. I mean, look at our crowd today.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, the motion is up to $1,600.
Yes,
So if we
up
don't
to.
spend it, we're still okay. Maybe we just have a couple fewer cookies.
Any other comments? On the motion, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
It passes 4-1. Okay. Okay, the next item, okay, let's have a little talk. What we have here that the safety's been working on is trying to deal with the crimes that have existed here based upon convenience. Namely, when people come in and go into somebody's unlocked car that has a key in it and drives away, it's easy. When somebody goes into a car that has money in it and they take the money, it's easy. And all these so far have been adding up to unlocked cars and open garage doors. And safety's trying to say, what do we do about that? Because rightfully so, if you have a atmosphere and a culture where the crime people out there talk to each other and say, oh, by the way, if you head over to Sun City Shadow Hills, the garage doors are open and the cars are unlocked. Take what you want. It gets worse. Right? I can see that. So they're having a dilemma. So they're trying to deal with this. One of the thoughts was closing the side gates between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m., which, by the way, most of us don't use then. But they rethought it. They're withdrawing it. I'm presenting that to you because they're going to monitor this, and this might come up, that they're going to try to do whatever they can to help our situation. So that one's been withdrawn for the moment. The next one is dealing with recreational vehicles on Sun City Shadow Hills. This will come about because let's understand what the rule is all about. And Mr. Israel is going to take over here. We have a rule for visitors, which is if you have a guest who has an RV vehicle, they can get a permit for 48 hours to park it in front of your house. Well, it's being a little abused, a tiny bit abused, because some of those vehicles are leaving after 48 hours and then coming back in for another permit to stay for 4 days instead of 2 days. And they keep doing this. Well, we're not quite sure that that's what the intent of the rule is all about, and or the intent of usage. Mr. Israel, this is your item. Take it away.
I thought you were going to just run with it. That's fine with me. The proposal by the Safety Committee under the BAF was to do away entirely with the extending passes to people other than residents of Sun City Shadow Hills. I am going to propose that we amend that proposal to allow one entry per month per visiting guest, if that occurs. And that would be one 48-hour permit per month so that it cannot be abused, as it were. So I'm making that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, to clarify, Mr. Israel, we're talking about a 48-hour power once per month attached to the vehicle, not the people.
Yes, attached to the vehicle.
Okay.
And, of course, not applying to homeowners or residents, because we already have a rule in place for homeowners and residents that gives them up to 48 hours, up to 5 times, not to exceed 5 days in any calendar month. That rule remains unchanged. This is merely to clarify the rule as it would apply to guests.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is a resident's guest's RV can only stay on site for 48 hours once per month. Any more talk about that motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Mr. Israel, you're on a roll. You want to take the next one?
Number 20. We talked about this last month, and Kim has just referred to it. And during the month of October, there were 181 incidents of garage doors being left open and unattended for extended periods during night hours. In addition to being an attraction to those who would like to take some of your things away, this is something that has detracted from the ability of our security services to do their job of patrolling. The way it works now is if they come upon a garage door left unattended at night, they attempt to contact the owner by phone. If that's not successful, they knock at the door. If that's not successful, then they stay on station and they notify the Indio police, and they wait there for the Indio police to arrive and then go from there. That takes a lot of time away with the number of garage doors being left open from what they should be doing, and that is patrolling the rest of the neighborhood. So the Safety Committee has proposed that beginning January 1, for a 3-month period, we implement a procedure whereby if they come upon an open garage door, they call, they knock on the door. If it is left, they can get nobody to come in and correct the situation, they would leave a notice, a warning that the garage had been left open, and that was contrary to our rules and regulations, and it should not be repeated, it should be corrected. After 3 months, that warning would, or if it happens again, that warning would result in a $25 fine. And then it would go with the normal procedure with covenants, and if it's repeated and repeated and repeated, covenants would have the option of levying increasing fines as time goes on. This is for, one, to facilitate the services of our security and keeping them doing what we want them to do, which is patrol the neighborhoods. But it's also to protect each and every one of us by discouraging people from coming on site for helping themselves and putting all of us at risk. So I would move that we adopt that change in our rules and regulations beginning January 1 for a 3-month period, and thereafter with a fine of $25 per incident.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are you going to eliminate the calling of the police as well?
Yes, the procedure would change. They would no longer involve the Indio police or no longer stay on station. They would merely issue a citation and a warning to begin with, and later a citation. And this would only be during nighttime hours if the garage is left unattended. If somebody's in the garage, you're not going to get a citation, you're not going to get a warning. They'll just say, you know,
I second
move
that.
on.
I second that.
Okay, discussion. The motion is essentially a $25 fine for people who leave their garage open unattended that cannot be contacted by security, by phone call and or knocking on the door.
Correct.
Between the hours of 12 midnight and 5 a.m.
Well, actually, I think it will apply during hours of darkness.
Okay, that's what I want to get to.
And that would change during the year. I mean,
Okay, so all hours of darkness. Okay, any more discussion?
I want to clarify. The BAF says there will be a 3-month warning period during which time residents will be notified that they had an open garage door at night. After that, which I presume is a 3-month warning period or 3-month period, there'll be the $25 citation.
That's correct.
So there will be no citations issued for the first 3 months of 2019. There will be warnings only, and the citation piece then becomes effective April 1st. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, just to make it more complicated.
More complicated.
Just for fun. This is a rule change, so we're going to have to post it for 30 days. We will then have to approve it in the meeting in January, which is end of January. So for all intents and purposes, your 3 months is February, March, April,
That's correct.
and then you will start issuing in May.
It's actually beginning January 1st, it's only 28 days notice.
Okay.
Change in the law.
Okay. So, everybody understand what we're doing? Everybody understand what's going on here? Does this make sense?
Close your garage doors. That's
Close the garage
That
door.
solves the problem, folks.
It's timely, it's costly, and people do steal stuff.
Okay. So the motion, yes, Vanessa.
Are you voting to post for 30 days?
Yes, we're voting to post for 30 days. By the way, just so everybody knows, the last one is the same thing. We have to post it. It's for posting of 30 days. We're voting to post for 30 days, same as the last.
Can I get a motion for both separately, please?
On the previous one?
Yes.
All right, we will in a minute. Okay. Okay, the motion is to post for 30-day comment, a rule change that will be a fine of $25 for those who leave their garage doors open and who cannot be unattended, who cannot be contacted by phone call or by knocking on the door during the night hours.
Can you be specific about the night hours?
No, they shift whenever it's dark.
Second.
Sunset to sunup.
I think there would be a very Varied opinions about
Cannot
whether
hear
it's
her.
dark or whether it's not dark. So I think we need to say 7 p.m.
Turn on your microphone.
or 8 p.m.
It'll be sunset to sun up.
They're not going to be standing there as soon as the sun goes down and issuing citations. That's not the motivation here, folks. The motivation is to
When
encourage
it's
people to
dark.
close their garage door.
If it doesn't work, we'll come back with a time.
The motion is regarding the posting period, correct?
Yes, we're posting this rule. We'll have a rule change. All right, all in favor of the motion to post this rule change, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Pick somebody. Fira. Okay. Now, Vanessa, you want me to make a motion that the last item was for posting, correct?
A rule change with regarding RV parking will be posted for 30 days.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Mr. Israel, you're still up. You're at the plate.
Boy, this is an active committee.
Well, the two committees that I serve on have been very active. There have been a number of concerns by residents expressed to the Safety Committee regarding speed of vehicles on Estuco in Phase 3. The street is lengthy with no traffic calming measures to slow traffic down. They propose making that a three-way stop, and that would at least provide a slowing down effect. And this was a majority recommendation by the Safety Committee, and I would move that we adopt the BAF. This is not a change in the rules, so I would move that we adopt the BAF and have the three-way stop created as indicated.
Is there a second?
With a heavy heart, since I live on Estuco, I will second your motion.
You stop regularly.
Okay, comments. So the point here is they feel there's some drivers on Estuco who are driving too fast because there's no controls for a very long way.
That is correct.
That's it, right?
Yes.
And I'm just asking because I don't know why I'm asking. Do we want to send a letter to everybody on Estuco what they think about this?
I don't think that's a bad idea. I really am opposed to punishing a few, the majority of people by making them stop, our law-abiding residents, because you've got a few people who don't stop. It feels like over and over again we're doing that, and I just don't think that's appropriate.
I would weigh in, having stood out in my driveway, watching many a car go by at what I would guesstimate, I would say half the cars go by at a speed greater than 25 miles an hour.
Well, if, you live on the street, if you feel it's appropriate, but I just hate that we keep doing that.
Yeah, I'm not excited about it, but I think it's necessary.
I would object to surveying the people who live on that street as to whether or not they want a stop sign or not. I mean, you have a safety committee. The safety committee has evaluated the situation. They believe that it would be to the benefit of the entire community to have a traffic calming device, which is nothing. We're not talking about speed bumps. We're talking about a stop sign to slow people down. I just think it's appropriate. The very first time I went into Phase 3, I was amazed by the number of places where Pulte had saved money and not put any stop signs. We have a lot more stop signs in Phase 1 and Phase 2. I've got one on my cul-de-sac, which is 6 houses deep. So,
what about if? I guess my brain's just saying I'd like to know what the people on Estuco all said, hoping that 70% come back like you said. I understand what you're totally saving and safety is saying, that they agree and make our life easy. Can we say we pass it conditional? Can we pass it conditional upon sending a letter, getting the information before we install?
You can do anything you want to do.
There's a motion.
But I don't
there's a
like the
second.
idea.
There's a motion and a second on this proposal as we stand here today.
Yeah, well, unless he wants to change it. Let's see, what can I do? Okay. I don't want to amend this if everybody's in favor.
One of the people voting for this lives on that street in the safety committee.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think we've got to take the recommendation of our safety committee and give them credit for for this recommendation, and I would support, I leave my motion unamended.
Okay. See, isn't this fun? Linda, you get ready.
Yeah.
This is what it's about. Every once in a while, you get all torn apart, don't know what to do.
What's the motion?
Okay, here's what I'm gonna amend his motion, and here's why.
Well, wait a minute. We have to either vote on this one, or you can't make a new one until we vote on this one. We have a motion and a second.
Okay, hang
And
on.
I refuse to amend it.
Okay, I got that.
Okay.
Anybody can amend a motion, and the amended motion would take precedent, and then we go back to the main
You
motion.
can vote to amend it.
So, what we do is I'm going to amend his motion
Move to amend.
to request a letter be sent to everybody on Estuco and get their response first.
And the letter would ask, do you approve or not approve of
Two stop signs,
three
wherever
stop
they're
signs?
located. I just want to know.
I would second that.
Okay, now we're discussion.
Discussion?
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever done that for any other time we've done anything, and I think it's a bad precedent to set.
To do, to ask them?
Yeah.
Ask them. We've never asked them before.
And,
But-
and if we do ask them in a letter, how do you want them to respond? By phone to the HOA office, or by letter, or what? Or
I want them to send a letter to Linda. I'm just playing with you, Linda, so you have fun. Okay. Okay.
Is there a second to Kim's motion?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, they did. I'm torn on this one.
I know, I'm very torn. I understand what you're saying, but I get back to my basic issue, which is that I'd like to know how many people, I mean, you say, these are simply sort of, what are the statistics actually on how many speeding tickets are issued on that street?
Okay, chair does have some discretion. Here's what. First of all, I'm going to withdraw my amending motion for the
Okay.
moment. Before we vote, though, chair does have discretion. I want anybody who has an opinion about this to raise their hand. Beautiful, I got you, Mr. Wethy. Come on up to this podium and give me an opinion. There was 4 of you. Somebody else had an opinion, right? Please come up, stand behind them. Who else had an opinion over here? We need your help. I'm asking for your help. Mark, you. There was another person right over here with your hand up. Come on up. Hey, we're having fun here. We're going to try to resolve this together one way or the other. Fire away. What do you think we ought to do here?
I support Mr. Israel's motion. I walk or ride Estuco every day. It's a racetrack.
Thank you, sir.
I also support Mr. Israel. I feel that we don't have to ask people on the street when we put a stop sign on the street for safety reasons.
Thank you.
The Safety Committee is made up of experts in the field of safety. For the last 2 years, Kim, as president, you have deferred to experts and expertise whenever necessary. And this is one more example. And giving residents a sense of the opportunity to vote on whether they should have a stop sign or not just defeats the whole purpose of advisory committees. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Harry Shaw. I don't live on Avenida Estuco. I cross Avenida Estuco once a week on a golf cart, which is right at that location. Many times we yell at trucks and cars going through there very fast, saying, slow down, it's a dangerous intersection.
All right, then I'll withdraw my objection. If you
Okay.
feel that that's it, I'll don't care. I'm just concerned that that we really need to put a stop sign there. If you guys feel we do, then so be it.
Go look it up. A great man once said, if you never change your mind, you never change anything. Okay. Any more discussion about the Mr. Israel's motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? How about that? Should have talked to all of you first, shouldn't I? Good job. We'll get there.
Am I still on the board?
Mr. Israel, you're still got the floor. It's your item. Keep going. You're on a roll. Keep going.
All right. We decided to table tab 22, the surveillance cameras.
Yes, correct.
All right. 23.
We're on item H.
Actually, we agreed to table that one, and we're going to...
You have to make a motion to table.
I would make a motion to table item H, which is the purchase and installation of surveillance equipment for the Montecito and Santa Rosa Fitness Center until further analysis and review.
We're just going to get an additional bid, right?
All right, all in favor of this motion being tabled, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, our famous courts 5 and 6.
Here we go. Yeah.
All right, here's what we got. I'm going to try to explain this, which I will do poorly, but that's okay. Courts 5 and 6 and the pickleball courts 5 and 6 have a different tennis surface than the courts here at the Montecito. Imagine this is a concrete slab. And in the case of the Montecito, they painted the concrete slab. The paint is on the concrete. In the case of the Santa Rosa courts, they took a approximately quarter-inch thick synthetic material and just laid it on top. It's cushioned. So if you walk on the one in the Santa Rosa, it's softer. If you walk on the Montecito, it's harder. This is a court they will roll out in pro tournaments on indoor surface. They roll this right out, lay it down. There you go. It's not inexpensive. It's $30,000 just for the mat, not include the install of the concrete. The problem with this surface is there is moisture that can come up through concrete because the spec on tennis courts to put a moisture barrier below the concrete is really like only 10 years old. Most of the concrete was installed without moisture barriers below. So when you get moisture, you also get off-gassing, because concrete does this more than asphalt. And so there'll be pockets that get created in this material. It's just lying there. But there'll be a pocket where it will then raise up a little bit. And when you raise it up a little bit, that's a dead spot. When the ball hits it, it doesn't rebound correctly because the surface gives. They have these in basketball courts. You all heard dead spots at basketball courts? It's where the floor is not in contact with the concrete slab. So when we construct these things, we know that. That is a deficiency of this particular surface. Does not mean it's unsafe. It means there's dead spots. It doesn't play true like a concrete court with paint that's perfectly level. That I get. I get that from every tennis player. I understand it. I play tennis, by the way. I used to. I will tell you, though, clay courts have bad spots. If you ever played on clay, because it gets chewed up while they play, the ball bounces funny quite a bit. Grass courts have funny bounces. So, but I totally understand that the customer here, our residents, want that court removed. They basically want to take off this and then put paint back down. Okay. So the first point is there are people who can play on that who can't, but the great majority of the tennis club and the pickleball players want a flat surface where the ball bounces true all of the time. Does that explain the install? Everybody understand what I'm talking about? Now here's the risks. When we go to take this surface off, we're not sure exactly what's underneath it. And I'll tell you what happened over at Sun City Palm Desert. They took that surface off. The concrete was so worthless, they had to build a new court on top. That one court, $50,000 for a new slab. One court. There is a risk. So what we're going to propose, what I'm going to propose, because I understand what you all want, and believe you me, it's breaking my heart to make this motion. I am not a proponent of taking these surfaces out, but I understand where you're coming from. We're going to first just peel back part of the court. We're going to roll it back. And we're going to work with the contractor to try to look at that slab to see if we can make sure we can paint it. Because if it's spalled and cracked and a mess under there, we got a problem on our hands. So it is possible that we can't. It could be possible we look at this, contractor says we can't do it, put it back. This surface is put on top of courts that have been cracked apart because they can't fix the court anymore. They'll put this on top because the cracks below don't affect it, right? It just sits on top. So the thought here for me is we slowly take this back, piece by piece, trying to preserve the court so that if we get to a point where they go, we can't use the concrete, then we put the surface back. John, Bruce, you understand what I'm talking about here? There will be a decision that will have to be made. I am not a proponent of tearing out that concrete and putting back a new post-tension concrete court. That's $200,000. No. That's out of the question. So, my compromise. I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion. Here's my motion. Accept the Zano contract bid. I'm accepting that bid. If you who read it, it's because the other bid is too low. You can't do this work for that amount of money. I'm in this business. I build these. It's not possible. So to build it, to do that work that guy was proposing means he's cutting corners. I don't want contractors to lose money. I want a good job. When they pull this surface off, we got to go through and fix the cracks. We got to do all the spalling. You know, concrete's bad. We got to fill it with resin. We'll probably have to do grinding. We got to power wash. We got a lot of work to do to get it level and then to put the material down. Because there's no barrier underneath this slab, the company that makes the paint will not guarantee it. So once we're done, some of this paint could debond. It'll bubble up, and I've seen that in the Coachella Valley. But that's a low risk. I do understand it's a low risk. So my motion is to accept the Zano contract as proposed with the addition that staff, John Peterson, myself, have to be there while we're taking off that court, and we're going to watch it and then make a decision on what's going to happen. There's the motion.
I'll second that motion as presented.
Now, did that complicate everybody's head? That's what we go through to build these things. Yeah, what I'm going to do is, John's going to be there. I don't mind if tennis players come out if you're not in the way. You know, you can't be in the way of the contractor. They're going to roll back part of this court. It's just a 1/4-inch thick, and you roll it. You can roll it up, roll it out. We're not sure how, usually, I don't know how it was installed, and if they use certain kinds of glue, it could be glued down there. It's going to be hard to pick it up. So we're going to find out. We roll it back 10 feet, and if all things look good, we keep going. Things look good, we'll keep going. And pretty soon, we're going to have that thing off, and the concrete looks okay, we're going to paint it.
Question. May I have a question?
Yeah.
Don't we have to do this individually with each court, 5 and 6, the pickleball courts and each of the tennis courts? I mean,
Well-
we could have a different situation develop under each court.
Possible, unlikely.
All right.
Possible, unlikely. When they built that, they would have poured one big, huge slab.
Well,
I can't
pickleball,
imagine.
yes, but tennis is different.
No, they're right next to each other.
Yeah, I know.
They're on one big
They
square.
did it all at the same time. All right.
Yeah, they did it all at the same time.
Okay.
So it's really like 3 tennis courts all together. But we'll do it little by little to make sure. Here's what I don't want. Here's what I'm scared of. I don't want to pull up a mat without supervision and throw away a $30,000 surface, and you're left with no court. Zero. Nothing. What would we do then?
Basketball.
So that's my concern, Bruce. I want to make sure we end up with something that's okay. Now, the risk when we're done, when we paint it, I think it is a minor risk, is here's what will happen. With the paint on this cement without a barrier below, when it rains hard, when you get rain, the moisture is going to come up through the bottom, and it can lift that paint right off the concrete, and you'll get a bubble. Staff will have to close those courts for 1 to 2 weeks when that happens, so you don't play on that bubbled court. Because if you let it evaporate, it'll go back down and adhere. And if you don't, you wreck the paint. It comes off. So you follow me there, Bruce? Yes? No? You can go all over the Coachella Valley. This is what happens. So we're going to hope. We're going to hope. We're going to venture outside of normal protocol. Yes, sir.
Kim, isn't that what is happening there now, though? If you're saying there's moisture coming up, isn't that why those courts get wacko when it rains and then seem to go down a little bit when it dries? Isn't that happening already?
Yeah, the Premier Court, which is sitting on top, is very susceptible to atmospheric changes. Rain, heat, that whole thing, and the off-gassing of the concrete. Yes. So although the moisture will still be coming up, part of the difference is this. This material is a solid quarter-inch material sitting on site which does not breathe. The paint that we're going to be, it's not paint, it breathes. It's in a material that will breathe. And so there will be water penetration from the top side too. So what will happen is when this happens, if we're diligent and we're careful, when there are bubbles that might lift, you just leave them alone. They'll go back down with paint. The risk is small. I think it's worth that risk. What you don't want to do is play on that bubble, wreck the bubble, have the paint come off so that then you have to pull in and do a repair. That's what I'm saying. These are just the dynamics of this particular environment and how they built this court. Yeah. Yes, sir.
One other point. What is the difference in the age of the Palm Desert Sun City concrete and the age of Santa Rosa concrete?
Well, I do not know. I have to assume the concrete over there, I shouldn't say that. The post-tension repair, I'm assuming, is much newer. But the concrete that was originally put in, I'm assuming, was 30 years old. That's when they built it.
How old is the Santa Rosa concrete?
If you're asking me, I already know for a fact there's no moisture barrier under that concrete. We talked to the installer of those courts. He verified there's no moisture barrier. Most courts were not built with a moisture barrier in this whole valley. That's just unfortunate. So we got to deal with it, is what I'm saying. We got to deal with it. So the way to deal with it is we're going to carefully take it off to make sure we can do something with the concrete. And once we can do something with the concrete, I think you're home free, except when it rains hard, if concrete's bubble a little bit, you'll have to stay off for a week. That's the risk. Worst case scenario, totally worst case scenario. I don't imagine it ever happening. Why am I going to talk about it? I don't believe it'll happen. Never mind. Yes, sir.
What did we do on courts 1 to 4, the new courts?
That is paint over concrete.
It has a void moisture barrier underneath.
I do not know the specification. I do not know.
I guess our position is really one of we need to fix the problem.
You want to come up and ask me a question because I can't hear you. I will assume that does not have a moisture barrier under it. I'm not saying if you don't have a moisture barrier, the paint will lift all the time. I'm saying it's a possibility.
Okay. I guess I'm saying that your approach seems reasonable to test the base. But if the concrete isn't serviceable, then I think the courts still need to be fixed, one way or the other.
Oh.
And I guess I question why in 6 years this problem has arisen. After 6 years, were there no warranty on the courts that would be applicable?
Correct. The short answer is correct.
Okay. So regardless, whether or not your approach fixes it or not, I think we still need to fix the problem.
Okay, I'm giving you all the facts that I can in order to make a decision. I will tell you, you will need to campaign with some other board members. I don't believe I will be a proponent of a $200,000 replacement on those courts. I won't be a proponent.
So if you can't fix it by your proposal, then you would just close those courts down?
No. If we pull that stuff back and the contractor says this concrete is not paintable, we roll the court back and leave it the way it is.
So then whenever it rains, we have the same problem. And I guess I would disagree. I think there is a safety element here.
Okay. Like I'm saying.
So that means we have to close the courts down every time it rains.
Yeah, you know what's nice about this process? I like the discussion, and there's 4 other board members. I'm just not a guy that's willing to write a $200 check for those 2 tennis courts and 2 pickleball courts. I'm not willing to do it. They might, and by the way, they vote for it, I'll smile and go, good job. But you know what? Let's hope for the best.
Okay, I appreciate your opportunity to let me speak. Thank you.
Thank you. And come talk to me more if you like. It will. Come on up, John. This one's a tough one. This one is something they built. The specs are funny. We got to deal with it, and it could be expensive. Here's what I think is going to happen, personally. Now I gave you all the bad news I possibly could. I think we'll be able to take off the mat. I think we'll be able to paint it. I think you'll be happy. And I think once in a while, if you get enough rain, there'll be a bubble in the court. You let it go down, and you'll love life for the next 10 years. That's what I think will happen. But I'm getting you prepared.
Yeah, and Bruce, just to, hopefully this will help you. First of all, courts 5 and 6, we're done with the post-tension slab. So we know that. That's much better than what courts 1 through 4 of the pickleball are. Those are not post-tension. So we have a leg up on this one. Also, I don't think that the ones that they had the problem with at Palm Desert were post-tension. So they tore those out and put in post-tension slab. So I think we're looking at worst case scenario here. I think we're going to pull it up and we're going to find that that slab underneath is just fine to paint. I'm an optimist, but we just, we need to look at all sides of this. I think we're going to be just fine.
I agree with him. I've walked around those courts a lot. Usually if concrete's bad, you can feel it. You walk around it, you can feel the bad spots when you do the construction. I'm very optimistic. I think we're 90% home free, to tell you the truth. All right, my motion is on the board for hiring Zano Construction in order to
And I've seconded that motion.
do the work. All right, any more discussion on a very long explanation? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Peterson, you and I will be making an appointment with Zano. You might give him a call and say, we want to meet, let's talk this over. Tell him I like his proposal on his preparation work. That was a big deal. The other guy wasn't prepared.
Okay.
Actually, I think Zano did the Sun City Palm Desert retrofit,
24.
if I remember. Okay, Mr. Israel, you're back up.
Yeah, that's right. We have the board action form request to approve the payment of 50% deposit for replacement of light fixtures or acquisition of light fixtures in connection with the upgrade of the Montecito Clubhouse. All of these have been previously approved. It's merely now asking to approve the 50% deposits so these can be placed on order so that they will be available for us to install when the project resumes early May.
I second that motion.
Any
It's a total
discussion?
amount- a total amount of $4,799.14, the 50% deposit being $2,400.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next one is, I wasn't there this morning. Vera, you want to do this?
Yeah, the next one was the enforcement procedure. We voted to table that to give because our lawyer just presented. I move that we table it.
Second.
In favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There's no open forum because I don't have a list. We all talked already. Board reports. Hey, Farrah, excuse me, Erica, do you want to go first? Okay.
She always writes stuff down. I don't have any written
I am. Just a minute. Let me get my thing ready.
She's got
Okay.
the whole written thing.
First of all, thank you for joining us for the last meeting of the year. December was a busy month. We had a lot of meetings. Kim is known for his meetings, so we had several meetings. And then in addition, I attended a landscape advisory meeting, and the requests for proposals have been mailed to several landscape companies. A contract has been issued to the chosen landscape architect consultant, who, if he signs the contract, will provide plans to enhance the common areas, such as the areas along Sun City Boulevard from the Jefferson Gate to the Montecito Clubhouse and beyond. That's my priority. I don't know how the others feel, but that's my priority. One of my projects in 2019 is to generate interest in a spring cleanup, where homeowners paint their garage doors, shutters, and homes if needed, and refresh their front yard landscaping. And I, for one, am one of those homeowners that need to refresh at least the landscaping. Phases 1 and 2 are 10 to 14 years old, and certainly their homes may need repainting. Although I did learn that if you live in phase 1, the paint was in the stucco. So you don't need to repaint. You can just hose down, the dust and the dirt, etc. But you can repaint too. So check your home and front yard, and ask yourself whether they need to be refreshed, because that's going to be the work of a subcommittee, we think, of the DRC Design Review Committee. Thank you.
Hi. First, welcome Linda to the joy of campaigning. And we're all here to support you and Kim, although I don't know. After that last discussion, Kim's still kind of I'm still on the fence with Kim. Anyway, I did attend the Design Review Committee meeting, reviewed with them some potential changes in the rules and some potential changes in their charter, all of which have been posted for comment now. I also worked on new food and beverage rule language with the staff and with the Food and Beverage Committee, attended a meeting with the Food and Beverage Committee, in which I left with an enormous headache. These people are tough. Anyway, I also reviewed the Information Advisory Committee Ask a Question emails, checked all of that. And now I want to encourage, obviously, everybody to vote. That's certainly important. And I want to wish you all a happy holiday. Relax, have a good time. I was away for a week, and I have to tell you, it did wonders. So seriously, have a great holiday, take some deep breaths, and enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Farrah, I think we have one more meeting. I think I have something percolating on the 21st. Sorry.
First.
It's a never-ending story.
It is a never-ending story, these meetings, but that's okay. It's all good.
And thank you all for being here. I know that you're. A lot is getting done. A lot still needs to be done, but it's been a great year. This board is a delight to work with. I look forward to challenges of 2019 and serving all of you for yet another year. Thank you very much.
I won't prolong this. I attended meetings of the Safety Committee and the Facilities Committee. I was the sole participant in the Meet a Board Member last week. The President allowed me to fly on my own. Anyway, I've enjoyed what now seems like a year, even though it's only been a year since we started running for the board, on the board, and I think we're all working together well. And I think the community is better off for our efforts, and will continue to do so.
Okay, meet and eat. If you will notice in the future, there will be one board member there. They'll be rotated through. Everybody thought, hey, that would be a better way for residents to meet each board member. So that's going to take place. There is a special meeting of the board, meeting this Friday. And what's the reason for that is a month ago, not quite a month ago, we passed a rule change having to deal with groups and clubs being able to advertise to the public in order to come in. We couldn't pass it today because it wasn't 30 days. We had to wait. The reason we're holding the meeting is strict. That's all that's on the agenda, is to pass that rule change so that then the Creative Arts Club can go to work and advertise for an event they got coming up. So if we waited till January, they wouldn't have had time. That's the only reason for that meeting. You're welcome to come. It'll be very quick, very short, very fun. I think it's 21st, 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
2 o'clock here. There's a few changes. There's a few rule changes.
Yeah, there's some rule changes. That's what we're there for, is just the rule changes. And that's what's going on. Other than that, I have to tell you, we're doing very, very well. People ask me, well, how we're doing very well. There's always details. Those are details. A plant dies. Okay, I got you. In the meantime, have a great Christmas. Happy New Year. Most of all, please be safe out there. Thank you for coming. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.